Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraftsman Matt Dilks. We warmly welcome Mr. Don Spinks, Repatriation Commissioner, Department of Veterans Affairs. We welcome Mr. Chaim Jacobitz and the accompanying delegation who are in attendance this evening. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From Victoria, Stella Morris Primary School, Beaumaris. And from New South Wales, Corpus Christi Primary School, St Ives. Australia's Federation Guard is a tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catapult party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier within the Hall of Memory. I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the Australian National Anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free.
If you're able, and students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we pay tribute to Flying Officer Alan Frank Reid. Born in Ballarat on the 11th of November 1915, Alan Frank Reid was the son of William and Alice Reid. Little is known of his early life. In November 1939, he married Myrtle Mortimer, and together they lived in the Sydney suburb of Canterbury. On the 7th of December 1941, Reid enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force and began training as a navigator. In May 1942, he left Sydney for overseas service, first travelling to Canada, where he undertook further training, and then to Britain. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, Reid was one of almost 27,500 Royal Australian Air Force pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners and engineers, who, throughout the course of the war, joined the Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Following his arrival in England in November 1942, Reid undertook further specialist training. On one training flight, the plane in which he was a crew member crashed into the sea. Reid suffered from exposure but returned to duty within days of the incident. On the 7th of June 1943, Reid was posted to number 460 Squadron as part of the Royal Air Force Bombers Command. Number 460 Squadron was equipped with 4-engine Avro Lancaster heavy bombers. By September 1943, Reid had completed a full tour of duty with 460 Squadron, flying on 28 operational missions over occupied Europe. He was transferred to 27 Operational Training Unit, where he served as a navigational instructor. After a short stint at another training unit in May 1941, Reid commenced a short period working for a base headquarters unit before he requested a return to combat operational duties. He joined the crew of Squadron Leader Eric Lepage Langlois, who pieced together an experienced crew for his second tour, and together they commenced training to fly the 4-engine Avro Lancaster heavy bomber. In August 1941, Reid and his crew were posted to number 463 Squadron, an Australian heavy bomber squadron serving in Bomber Command. Reid flew 10 operations with 463 Squadron before he and his crew were transferred to number 467 Squadron in October 1944. Langlois became the commanding officer of the squadron in February the following year. On the 2nd of March 1945, Reid was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, awarded for numerous operations during which he displayed the utmost fortitude, courage and devotion to duty. The following day, Reid was flying on his 6th operation over Europe with 467 Squadron, his 44th in total. He was navigator in a Lancaster piloted by Langlois, taking part in a large raid on the Dortmund-Ems Canal at Ladbergen, Germany. When the aircraft was shot down by an enemy Messerschmitt Me-110 night fighter, Reid, Langlois, Flying Officer Charles Cameron, Flying Officer Evan Patton, and Flight Sergeant John Scott were killed. The two survivors, Flying Officer Joseph Wilmot and Flying Officer Ray Taylor, who spent the rest of the war as prisoners of war, later reported that all of the crew had managed to bail out and land safely. It is believed that the 5 who were killed had been murdered by SS troops. Their place of burial is unknown. Alan Reid was 29 years old. His name is commemorated upon the Air Force's memorial overlooking the River Thames. The Runnymede Memorial lists all the missing British and Commonwealth airmen with no known grave. His name appears on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flying Officer Alan Frank Reid, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
I invite you to please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Party pre-dance.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Catapult party outwards, turn. Catapult party quick, march.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.